Welcome to the Sense of Soul podcast. We are your hosts, Shanna and Mandy.
Grab your coffee, open your mind, heart, and soul. It's time to awaken.
Hey friends, if you are looking for ad-free Sense of Soul episodes, you can find them at Sense of Soul Patreon. Become a monthly member at any level.
You will also have access to our monthly SOS Sacred Circles, our mini-series, merch, and much more.
And it's a great way to help support our podcast so that we can continue to bring you inspiring episodes twice a week with our enlightened guests from all around the world. Check out our Patreon.
Today we have with us Michelle Hillier. She is a recovery coach, a transformational breathwork coach, a TEDx speaker, a dance movement specialist, yoga instructor, certified meditation, social emotional learning wellness coach, and she is the founder of Breath+Fire, a wellness program that helps people identify gaps in their lives that are holding them back from becoming who they truly want to be. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being with us.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am good.
Where are you in the US?
I'm in Aurora, Colorado.
Colorado. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Where are you at?
Toronto, Canada.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's snowing really good right now. So yeah.
I wish we've had a gray, like we had snow at Christmas. We normally have that. We're Canada. We have tons of snow.
Yeah.
We just had gray and cold. We have not seen the sun. We have a vitamin D deficiency for like 2 weeks here. It's everyone is just like, where's the sun?
Oh,
It's going to be 0 degrees here. Where's the snow and sun?
I know. Very similar weather to Colorado. Yeah. I'm excited to hear about your story. I love Breath+Fire. So I'm a Reiki master teacher.
Oh,
And
nice.
so when I'm doing the attunements, I try to do the Breath+Fire.
Breath+Fire. Yeah, I do it a little bit here and there with clients and in classes, but I love that's a real powerful practice, Breath+Fire.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing. You know, one of the things at the beginning of my journey I discovered was that I didn't breathe.
That's it. That's one of the hugest like somatic pieces for me is like I found my breath. And that's when I called it Breath+Fire, breath to like find your breath, find your calm, the power of that, and then ignite your fire, which I had no problem doing. I was on fire for about 25 years. So that was no problem.
So, you know, I remember when I took some classes, well, because I'm also a massage therapist. One of my classes was, I think it was like a shiatsu class or acupressure or something. And we went over the elements of like what we are, you know, and I am earth.
Okay.
And I am the unhealthy fire. So there's like the two different fires.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the one that is too busy, is, you know, too much energy, almost like that hyper dysfunctional ADHD kind of fire.
Right. That was me. I can relate to that. The raging inferno. That was me, like saying yes to everything, always busying myself. And that came along with like alcohol, which was funny because alcohol, you know, you just take alcohol and put it on fire. It's like for real, like the two substances together. And I just posted that way for a long time.
Wow. So I haven't drank in over 12 years because I'm surrounded by alcoholics. I've just decided not to. And, you know, my children, when I made this decision, they were going into high school and stuff. And I just decided just to be that person that was sober. I really never liked it that much. I like coffee a lot though.
I love my I've not given that up. That might be who knows when, but
you know, but I did also do Al-Anon. I still do sometimes.
Good.
And you know, I don't know if you knew, but Carl Jung had a big play in the big book.
Yeah, it's great literature. Yeah.
I know.
No, for sure. This deeper spirituality, like I don't think anybody really knows that it is a spiritual program. At the end of the day. Yes, there are these steps to get you sober and, but really it's about finding your spirituality and your sense of soul, like your sense of self. When you don't have that, you're out of alignment and you're in dis-ease, like you're distant from ease.
So who were you before, Michelle, before you were the founder of Breath+Fire?
Yeah. So I had a lot of changes. I was married. So I was a wife, which I'm no longer anymore. I'm single. So I was a wife to a man of 20 years with a gorgeous son. He's 10 now. If you look on paper, my title would look the same. So speaker, founder of a business I started in 2007 called Fit to Dance, which then evolved into something called the Groove Education. So it was all around getting dance and fitness and movement accessible for children in schools. So I was a high school teacher, and I left the traditional classroom setting after 3 years and started my own business. So it went quickly into me having a team of facilitators and then being sought after across pretty much North America. I spent a lot of time in the US on stages and doing workshops and trainings for teachers on how to make movement really accessible and easy, and getting every kid the sort of inspiration that they can move and they can dance. So I was doing all the things. I mean, I was facilitating, I was a leader, I had a team, I was social, I was saying yes to everything. I was bubbly, I was perceived as bubbly and spirited and fun to be around, but I also was an alcoholic. Drinking was a huge embedded in everything I did. So whether it was at conferences and events or with friends or after classes with my participants, I never really drank over negative news, or I wasn't like a closet, quiet, depressed drinker. I was like the party girl. And it kind of came along with having my own business and being an entrepreneur. And I sort of dove into the corporate scene just before COVID for 2 years. So I was then doing movement and activation breaks and wellness workshops for the corporate world. So banks, insurance companies, large organizations. I was flying all over Canada. That comes with an open bar everywhere. So I thought I feel like I had it made in terms of I got to party and work and do all my things, but I knew something was off. I knew I couldn't sustain it. I knew I couldn't do it, keep going this way. There was a deep core unhappiness that no one knew about. And I didn't really know about the depth of it until I got sober.
Do you think that the alcohol also helped you be fun and more open and more relaxed, with your clients and with the people around you?
That's a great question. And I've done a lot of thinking about even when my drinking started, like, did I need alcohol in my teenage years in university to go to parties?
Right.
Because it's everywhere. I grew up in a smaller town outside Toronto, and booze was where, if you didn't drink, you didn't have a social life, pretty much. Like bush parties and house parties, alcohol was just there. And then university, it's very typical for students to binge drink and party drink. And I thought, did I need alcohol to engage in all that? No, I didn't, because I am comfortable around people. But I think what alcohol did for me was tolerate situations I would never have gone to before. It gave me a level of tolerance. And now in sobriety, I just either choose not to go to like the mum crowd that's drinking, at someone's house on a weekend. I would go no problem before, because I knew alcohol would be there for me to tolerate the people there, the conversations being had, the environment. So I think it let me stay a little longer or stay till the end. So now I just either don't go or I stay very short of things. So I didn't need it to be fun and outgoing, but I needed it to stay.
Wow.
Yeah. It gave me tolerance to tolerate things I didn't want to be in, especially when drinking was aligned with work situations. So like I said, when I was traveling for corporate events, you sort of are assumed you're going to have to be at the hotel lobby bar, before the event and then after the event, and drinking is everywhere, and thinking, I don't even want to talk to these people half the time.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in my room,
right.
But I know
sober, I don't like you.
Yeah, sober, I don't think we have anything in common, but then get the alcohol there, get the buzz going, get the drinks flowing. And I was great. And I could tolerate it all. But then I never knew when to stop. That was my problem too. I was fun. It's just too much fun. And then, so it was just in excess.
Everyone's like, we're done. And you're like, what?
Come back to my room. Yeah, there was just never, and it was all lack of self-awareness. If someone could ask me, actually something did ask me at a studio I work at here in Toronto. They didn't know I got sober during COVID. And they said, what's been the hugest change? Because they were mentioning you look different, you feel different. They hadn't seen me since 2020. And what's the biggest change? And I said, my level of self-awareness. I mean, there's many things, but if I can pinpoint it to one thing, it's this deep connection to self that I didn't have while I'm drinking socially for years and years. Yeah.
So how did it affect your relationships? I mean, your personal relationships when you quit drinking? Because I know that that's difficult as well. I mean, because a lot of your relationships are really around partying and
that's true.
Drinking.
It comes with a lot. And I think that's a big fear for individuals when they are considering sobriety or sober curious. And I was sober curious in 2010, 12 years before I actually got sober, or 10 years. And I thought, God, what would my life be? It'd be boring. What would I do? Those were my big questions. And I work as a coach now in recovery and volunteer at a treatment center up in Canada. When people are sober curious, my clients, it's like, what will I do? Like my life revolves around drinking with my husband at night. We share a bottle of wine, or I go with my girlfriends away for weekends, or go to these events for work. And especially when it's work connected, like it's expected that I drink. So we have these ideas, and I had those too. What I can say is that it comes with a ton of change. Now, the nice piece was that COVID was lined up perfectly with my sobriety. So nothing was going on. It was an absolute gift that all of a sudden we're going to get you sober, and you're going to work on your recovery and your sobriety. And there's no Christmas, there's no New Year's.
Yeah.
It's actually beautiful. And yeah, it's amazing. It was an amazing gift.
It's a transitional period for so many people, even though it was a shit show, but yes. So my family, we're from Louisiana. So we actually get together and eat, but like my partner's family, they get together and drink. So that's kind of like, it seems like there's these dynamics. We do a lot of things early on his side, because if you do it too late, then, it could ruin Christmas. So
absolutely. Like the girlfriends that supported me that I guess, quote, drank with beforehand, like, my friends were so supportive, and like their concern for me with alcohol before I sought treatment and got sober, they're still all in my life, and we just do different things. And it's actually beautiful.
Yeah.
Instead getting together for, pre-Christmas, I always got together with this one friend, and we used to go for like a boozy lunch, and it would lead to like us picking up the kids after school on the last day. Instead, we did like a hot yoga class and went for coffee after.
Nice.
And then instead of late nights with girls, I do early morning walks with them. So it's just, and they appreciate it too, Shayna. Like I can see, I'm not sure if I don't want to say that I am, but they're getting I can tell they're getting curious about their relationship with alcohol as well, after seeing the positive effects it's had on me. And I am kind of a glue in my friends. I keep in touch with all of them. I always reach out. And so I don't know if they're drinking less or if they're doing less, because I just don't see everybody drinking as much around me. Or maybe it's just what I want to perceive. I don't know.
Did you at the beginning have to kind of place those boundaries though?
Yeah, my first couple social situations, I either didn't go, or I would go early and leave early. But my girlfriends, but the people that loved me and cared about me, like never forced me to create a boundary. I didn't have to with them. Like, if anything, I'd say, no, go ahead and have that glass of wine. And they're like, no, I really don't want to around you. And no, I mean, I didn't have to set boundaries where if I see this person, my boundary is if they drink, I need to leave. I didn't need to set those. And I come from a very small family. So my now ex-husband and I separated and divorced. Now his family was sort of my family here in Toronto. So I no longer saw them as much. And yeah, they drank and I drank with them, but that was sort of removed from my life. I'm an only child. My father passed like 15 years ago. So my mom and I, that's it. And she went super downhill with dementia during COVID. So I had to put her in a nursing home, like a caregiving home for dementia, which was a big part of with the active addiction, with the alcohol really becoming a problem during COVID. That was all I knew to cope with this huge, like monumental, situation with her. And now she's safe and she's healthy and happy, but she has no clue who I am. So I used to like share wine with her, so that's now removed. So it's like, I'm in this really safe place where alcohol's not really around me unless I go and find it.
Right.
A lot of my friends in recovery have to deal with their spouse or their friends or their family drinking heavily all the time. In my recovery circles is like, man, my husband drinks every night and I'm asking him not to, I can't be around it. I think that would be really hard. So I really feel grateful I haven't had to set boundaries like that, but I would if I had to. So it's not in my house. It's nowhere around me, and makes it a lot easier. I mean, it gets easier the more months that I get. And now I have the obsession to drink is totally gone.
I think that a lot of times when we are working on ourselves deeply, one of the things that we find is like in that awareness, we find that we weren't treating ourselves very kindly. We weren't a priority. We didn't have any kind of balance. More was going out than was coming in. It sounds like you're a teacher, you're a mother, you're a caregiver.
Yeah.
How did you get there? Like, what did that moment look like for you? Because I know for myself, it was a big moment when I realized, oh my God, I talked to myself like I would never talk to anybody like that.
That's right. No, I was probably in denial that I didn't have self-love. I clouded it with self-confidence. So I've always had a very high confidence level. I've been on stages since I've been a little girl, and performer, speaker, educator, facilitator, no problem. Give me a mic and I'm good. Give me 1,000 people and I'm good. But like, that's a level of self-confidence that I've had. I have a strong belief in myself in that arena, like in that performer Michelle, that like, that's at the real Michelle. That's what I'm discovering.
Yes.
That extroverted party performer girl, which served me well for a long time until it didn't. That also was not the real me. I actually gain energy from being alone. I never was alone ever before recovery. I never lived alone. I never wanted to spend time alone. And if I was alone, it's amazing to me. I would have a glass or two of wine on my own because I think I didn't want to be with myself, because I was afraid of what the answers were going to be. And that was sort of the paradox, is that I'm on stages talking about wellness and being yourself and, living your best life. And there I am, either hungover on that stage or cannot wait to get to the hotel lobby bar after that stage to get a drink. And that's where I mentioned the sober curiosity I had 10 years ago. I thought, God, it would all be in alignment if I didn't drink. But I didn't know it was. So now that I'm here, man, it does.
So now you're in your integrity.
I'm like walking the walk. I'm talking the talk. I can't describe this. It's best.
You're free. You're free from all the masks, and
I'm liberated. Someone's giving the handcuffs have been taken off me, where I was constantly thinking about and it was all about escaping and numbing, and probably knew who I was. I was afraid to get to know myself.
I know. Isn't that so true? When I look at my young adult children, of course, they don't know fully who they are, right? But at least I've given them the space to, and I've made sure that they understand that they have the space to. You don't have to be all of the things, all of these systems, it's like irrelevant. The most important thing is to, find that true, authentic spark within. But our generation, right? We were trying to be the most, do the most.
But there was no like discover yourself. That came with maybe travel Europe after university and discover yourself. Well, I did that. I worked on a cruise ship for a year. I just partied and drank. I didn't discover anything but where the parties were and the beaches. But I think the sense that comes with discovering yourself comes with some sense of being okay with being quiet and being alone and being in solitude and letting it come through, and not be, if you're that type that has to always be out in the world, people pleasing and getting applause and validation, it's really tough to get to know yourself, because your identity of yourself is those that formed from others. So I hear great feedback from me for my whatever I did and accolades, and like, that's Michelle, that's who I am. I would self-identify with how other people talk about
you. Yeah.
And then that would lead to my positive self. I actually had extremely positive self-talk, but it was not the real me. It was other people's perceptions of me.
Right.
When I got to a party or an event or anything, and it's like, oh, Michelle's here. She's the dancer, performer. I thought,
I gotta perform.
But really, I just want to slink in and no one noticed me. And now I can do that. Or now I don't even go. What am I talking about? Now I don't even go to the parties. But before, and that was a lot of pressure. Like, teach us a dance or like sing us a song. I'm like, oh my God, what am I, a puppet? And then the drinking would help keep that going. Again, tolerate the situation. The drinking would help.
Wow. Yeah. So you still teach dance, and movement is still an important part. So, and it's interesting because that multidimensional self, right? That connection, like, I feel like it's so easy to go on one side or the other. Like, you're so obsessed with your body or you're so in your head, and having that balance it's the key, basically, of health, emotionally and mentally and physically. Got to all be balanced together. There's been times where at the beginning of my journey, I wanted to just meditate. And I felt like I was on vacation on a daily. See ya, check it out.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. And then coming back to my body. But a lot of people experience pain, especially in their 30s and into their 40s. I have so many clients right now. There's so much pain. And I'm like, yeah, your body is literally screaming for you to, honor it and to bring some attention to it.
I can speak to that. Actually, that really hits home with me. Being a dancer, mover, fitness person, performer for all the years, coupled with drinking, I remarkably was never injured. So I never had any injuries up until my late 30s. I had James, my son, around 38. And then I had some serious hip pain after I had him. And fast forward, after debilitating pain, I had 2 hip replacement surgeries in 2018. I know. So that is sort of where I feel like my quote recovery journey started. However, I was still drinking over. It's where the alcohol to numb and to escape from things really took a center stage, because I identified myself as this fit, petite showgirl, let's just say, that got a lot of attention, did her work on stages, getting people dancing and moving. We're going to take you, and that's your identity. We're going to take that totally away from you. We're going to ground you. You have to recover in like a, lazy boy and not move. So my identity was like, who am I now? I can't be out in the world doing my things. So that's when alcohol really played a role in like the boredom of recovery and also masking pain. Now, it was an amazing lesson too, because all the intense, vigorous, not body aware movements I was doing for a long time, which didn't lead to the hip surgeries. I had a hip dysplasia diagnosis as a child that never got uncovered. And then I needed to have them replaced eventually anyway. I just accelerated it with all the work that I did and on my body. So there I am, sort of having to redefine myself, learning to walk again. And it slowed me down. It was a gift. It slowed me down. I can no longer do anything. Well, I'm not suggested that I don't do anything with impact anymore. So I used to be the runner, the try the new CrossFit thing, jumping faster, harder, stronger, all to prove to people how great I was. And now I do yoga, I walk, I swim, I stretch, and the byproduct is I'm in the best shape I've been in my life.
Isn't that crazy?
My body's like, yes, you're getting the message. You've slowed the crap down. And that came with being sober, awareness. It's all come together.
And the mindfulness. I would listen to another podcast that you were on, the Mindfulness Mode podcast.
Yeah, right.
One thing I did hear in the interview, which I thought you loved Thich Nhat Hanh. Oh, I love Thich Nhat Hanh. Oh my God, bless his soul. I mourned for him for days. I watched his funeral for days. It was so old.
How well that he died. He let himself go, right? Right at midnight. Exactly at midnight he went.
The 22nd of January, 122.
1222, but then right at 000 on the clock is when he went.
Amazing.
I really appreciate his work. I find it beautiful.
I do too. I mean, even eating. If you're mindful with your eating, you don't eat beyond when you mindful eat.
I graze all day. I work from home and kind of work on the road. I don't have to have set meals. And so when I find grazing for me is my way of mindfully eating. Like I'm a little hungry now for cheese crackers and olives. And then later on I'll have some fruit and peanuts. It's never like a meal. And that's just how I work. But that's my way of being mindful of when I'm hungry and operating. We're all different, but that works for me.
Well, and when you're meditating and when you're doing, healthy exercises and connecting with your body, you're sleeping better. And sleep is such an important part. It actually burns so many calories when you do, and it regulates all the chemicals that you need that help you not be so hungry or crave sugar. Like if you're sleeping regularly, literally, you will lose weight. I'm like, that's amazing.
Maybe that's why I'm having no trouble with my weight and recovery, because I'm sleeping again. Like all my systems were out of alignment. Sleep was out, eating was off. It was sporadic. Obviously, the toxins and poisons of alcohol. I don't miss when I think about that. Every other part of my life was sort of quote healthy, yet I'm pouring out poison down my throat. It just didn't go. It didn't fit.
Right. So when you finally quit drinking, were you already involved had you already started Breath+Fire, or did that come afterwards?
Breath+Fire truly was birthed out of my recovery. So at that time I sought after treatment. I went to a 30-day treatment program, November 2020, and had an eye-opening to like what life could be like in recovery, and it was like a month of discovery and being alone. Mm-hmm. So that was 2021. I spent 2021 dealing with a relapse. I was sober for 7 months. I was getting my feet grounded, being separated from my husband and managing the co-parenting of our son. And then I was not working a 12-step program. I wasn't really speaking to any other people in the addicted community or recovery community. I was doing it myself. I was like, I got this. I'm going to make up my own program. That's for everybody else. And that led to a relapse, thinking I can just have a drink. Yeah, I can try to do it normally. And then July 21 is my like sober date, July 21. And from there, life has changed drastically. So that's where I embraced the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous, and got involved in a beautiful female recovery community that I speak to still, 2 or 3 other addicts every day. They become dear friends. I never thought I needed friends. That was I don't need any new friends. I've got great friends, but to have some women in recovery, you can't beat it, because they just get through. And I got a great therapist that specializes in addiction and all the other things too. Because once you remove the primary substance, like the alcohol, the food, the drugs, the sex, the gambling, whatever, all those underlying things come up, like codependency and, love addiction. So I'm dealing with all of those things. It never ends. So good therapy, and then lots of journaling and reflecting every day. And then what it kind of dawned on me was like, I finally found my calm. Wow. I found my breath. And I just was like journaling these mind maps and diagrams, because I was trying to think about what is now my soul's purpose on this planet, for the work or the service that I want to do. I really struggle with the word work. I don't say I've got to do some work this afternoon. It's like, I love what I do so much, and it's aligned with just my life that it doesn't feel like work. So I thought what is my next thing that I want to, but not next thing. What is the thing that I want to put out to the world that can fuse together my speaking, my teaching, my movement, my meditation, my new love of recovery, and all these things. So I was kind of seeking something. And then in the absence of one. I created this idea of Breath+Fire. And it truly is just a balance. So that launched in April 2022.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So tell me about Breath+Fire.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a wellness organization that and I'm the founder of it. I don't have any team and don't plan to. I've had companies before in the past where I've had teams, and I like to do things solely. I'm good on my own. And so it involves certain services like coaching, so recovery coaching, wellness coaching, and somatic. So I have a lot of somatic practices that I do. I'm actually taking a really cool certificate program starting next month with the Embody Lab. So it's somatic attachment therapy certificate. So because this body holds a lot of issues, as you know, Reiki and massage, like this vessel is, if we can find tools to release it and release what's stuck, that's something I see my work going towards even more, having the background in dance and fitness and yoga. And so coaching, that could be one-on-one. And then I offer the Breath+Fire experience, which is, it can be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours for community members, organizations, corporate, kids. I did some teenagers yesterday. I was with teens all day.
They need it.
They need it big time. And it is an experience involving meditation, breath work. So I got also very into transformational breathwork practices. So meditation, breath work, yoga, dance, and it's just this big fusion. We build a fire and then we come back down. So we stoke it, and there's a peak at the top, and then journaling, reflection after. I finally found my flame. It was flickering pretty pathetically during COVID. Then in my pre-COVID, it was a raging inferno. So it's this like optimal blaze that I found now. So I help people find their flame.
Yes.
And the flame is our soul. The flame is like our essence, our soul, and we all have one that it's never gone. I always tell you, it hasn't gone out, I promise. You just have to find a way to fuel it or bring it down.
Yes, right. I like that too.
So from 2018 to now is where I feel like that's been this journey of like body, mind, and soul recovery.
Wow. This is so beautiful, because you put everything that you were doing before that you're passionate about, and you found this other peaceful side of you, this calm, so Breath+Fire. I love it. You put it together. That's beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, it does really feel like a calmer version of myself. And my people have known me in my life for, decades, just say that I do seem much more grounded and much calmer. And when a new person meets me and says, "You're so calm," or "You're so like," that is such a compliment. I'm calm. I think before I just wasn't aware, when I was constantly thinking about the next thing to say, or how can I make this about me? My ego was just having a heyday. It's still there. We can't abandon our ego. We got to be friends with it. Yeah. But it's just not at the forefront anymore, and having to be the performer, gain validation that way.
You're happy now.
That's right. And the validation comes from within. If we got to love ourselves. And I was like, I actually do now know what self-love is.
I think that so often the world, maybe it's because of social media, or maybe it's just the fact that humans are always, have a strong ego and always try to be better and do more. Am I good enough? Seeking validations for our feelings. We need all of these things from the outside, and it's very self-destructive.
It is. It leads to us making decisions. I find, at least speaking personally, making decisions that are not in alignment with what you want to do. It's what other people, how you will get, like, you're making a decision based on how you're going to get the validation. So taking the gig, or saying the thing, or going to the place, or being in that situation, doing that behavior, it's going to make you feel good because it'll make other people say good things about you. Mm-hmm. So that's where that has shifted.
You're giving them the power.
Giving them the power. Yes. And I think it comes with kind of, in the most simple terms, not caring what people think. And that's so easy to say, but that has to come with that takes practice, number one, but realizing that this is actually all that matters in terms of like your physical body. If this is not in alignment and happy and well taken care of, you can't serve anybody else. And I would preach that. I would talk about that. Fill your cup first before you go anywhere. And I didn't do any.
Yeah. I literally could have told you everything about boundaries, codependency, all of the things. I could literally, I knew those books and I knew how to do it, but I wasn't living it. I totally can relate. And then when I finally did, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. I don't remember really what I do. What clicked for me is that I stopped thinking that I was doing all of it for somebody else.
Yeah, exactly it. And we think I have this messaging so when I do my Breath+Fire movement experience, I act as more their guide. So I ask them to be creative. There's no right or wrong way to move. Say we have a song on, I'll show them a simple movement and have them, through my voice, I'll guide them how to make it look different. So they all look different. And there's always that voice in their head. And I call them out on it and say, I know that voice is talking to you, saying, you look stupid. What are you doing? You don't know what you're doing. And then the most important one, we are so concerned what others think of us. But if we're all, this is in my class, but if we're all thinking that everyone's looking at us, then no one's looking at you, because we actually are all concerned about ourselves. So I think if we can drop the narrative that people actually care more than, because they don't. People are so busy with their own lives and doing their own thing, but we think they're obsessed about talking about our situation. I had that when I got sober. I thought, what are people going to think of me? That I had to seek treatment and this and that, and my clients. And I kind of went underground for a while. Really, number one, people didn't even know. People I assumed knew that I got sober, and I thought they'd have judgment. Didn't even know, because they're wrapped up in their own lives. Number two, they didn't care. And number three, most of them were proud of me. But it's that narrative that we tell ourselves that people are talking about us. But if we can just drop it, because they're not.
Yeah. It's really funny. You'll appreciate this. This one girl we had on, she called her ego her drunk best friend.
That's perfect. Definitely. The ego is an interesting one, but I have read around the ideas, like, we can't get rid of it. We can help to dismantle it. And we can look at when we're making decisions. Is my ego kind of at play here? Is it because, I'm going to get validation and do that for this reason? And we can just make a better decision, but we can't let it totally go away. We have to just befriend it.
Yeah. I know. I agree. I'm checking mine all the time.
It's also about motivation, right? Like, what's my motivation for this decision? Right. And that's a lot of attachment to your ego.
Absolutely. So are you doing this on Zoom? Can anybody access your classes?
Yeah, so not anything right now on Zoom. I did have a homecoming program that just wrapped up in December. Now that things are up and running in person, I'm really digging it because the connection is just unreal, and I missed it so much. So currently right now, nothing going on Zoom that's like live. However, launching February 1st is my 12-day. I did a 12-day Breath+Fire challenge in December that was received super well. So what happens is every day there is the 3 pillars of Breath+Fire is movement, meditation, and reflection. So moving your body in some way creatively, doing some meditation or breathwork practice, so grounding, and then a journal prompt. So every day for 12 days, the participants in the challenge receive that into their inbox, an audio file, a video file, and a journal prompt. So that's going to be live on my website for purchase as of February 1st, the 12-day challenge. It's just a great way to start a commitment to yourself every day. And I've taken away those words, routine or ritual. I say commitment. So it's a daily commitment, not a daily routine.
Why 12 days?
I don't know. I was pigging off the 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah. Okay. I like
and
it.
I see myself adding more. Like I just have 12 days to load up as of Feb 1 and it's all going to be ready. But in terms of coaching, that is done over Zoom or phone call. So that can be anywhere, North America or international, I suppose. So one-on-one coaching. And then any corporation or organization that would want to have their employees, experience, I can come in person, travel. The themes in corporate that I tend to do are burnout, being resistant to burnout or strategies to not get there. Authenticity, so stepping into your authentic self, which will get yourself to know yourself more so you can be a more effective part of a team. And just also amazing team builder for any organization. So moving together, being together, experiencing.
And you're in the Toronto area.
I'm in the Toronto area. We call it the GTA, Greater Toronto Area. So Toronto is a huge spread.
Yeah. Okay.
Greater Toronto area. Yeah. But I travel. I go all over the place for my work. Yeah.
Because I have lots of listeners in Canada. Like last night, I had this participant of my Patreon circles, and she goes to an awake therapist. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Where can I find a awake therapist?
Yeah, no kidding. That sounds great.
No, it's in Canada too.
In Canada?
I know.
Yeah, it's nice to have a coach or therapist that also understands addiction and recovery and what comes with that. So yeah, if anybody's interested in coaching that involves the body, like somatic practices for releasing trauma and moving life, that's my jam. That's my specialty.
Yeah. Lately I've literally over just since Monday have had 2 people come to me and tell me they're in so much pain. They're, doing all the things. They've gone to the doctor. There's nothing wrong, this and that. I'm like, yeah, it's an inner thing. You need to honor your body from the inside out. Absolutely. Yeah. So I will definitely send them your way. That's
the website, breath+fire.com, or Instagram is a great place to see dynamic, what I'm up to. And it's Michelle _breath+fire. Awesome.
Congratulations on your sobriety. Yeah. It's really hard. And so I honor you for doing this. And then also, spreading that love, with the world and with others.
I feel like I found that glow again. Like I have it back, and it did, it feels really good. And it's the right kind of glow. It's the part that
good fire part.
The good fire part, and then the breath part. I can't get enough of the calm. So
right. And it's authentic, right? It's the eternal flame, right? That cannot be blown out. So
that's right. The eternal flame.
And now it's time for Break That Shit Down.
What speaks to me, what comes to me right away is never being afraid of who your authentic self is. Because even if we identify a certain way, like I never thought, I wanted to always be an extrovert, the fun, outgoing, perceived party girl, energetic, bubbly, whatever that was. But that was like an old, young version of myself. We have to also embrace our age. Like, I'm approaching 50 and introverted, calm, Zen 50-year-old Michelle, that's a good Michelle. And so I think that, we have to really honor our age and where we're at and not be afraid of change. I think we're afraid of change. I was stuck in my 20-year-old mindset, wanting to still be that way. So embracing age, looking for authenticity and just finding that flame and knowing that everyone's is different. So we're on our own journey.
I love that. You're embracing the crone, but I can't really embrace the fact that I was up all night last night from hot flashes. But when it does come though, I mean, I've talked to so many women who say, instead of the resistance, like accept it, embrace it. Wisdom comes with this.
Yeah. True. I love that. Yeah. I had a lot of masculine energy. So that really, I've done a lot of work and reading around that. So that power that comes with the fire, right? The fiery, powerful side of me. And what I've also embraced in recovery in this Michelle 2.0 version, the soft feminine side.
Yes, me too.
Huge for me. So those are my final words. And don't look at the divine feminine and don't be afraid of the softness.
I love it. You're beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us today. We hope you will come back next week. If you like what you hear, don't forget to rate, like, and subscribe.
Thank you. We rise to lift you up.
Thanks for listening.